Hi, I'm Laura Rance. I'm editor of the Manitoba Cooperator, which is a weekly publication serving Manitoba farmers and rural communities. My presentation was called New Directions for Manitoba's Rural Economy, and what I looked at was some of the three bigger issues that are facing us globally in terms of climate change, population migration patterns, and energy, the rising question of peak oil, and how that could affect rural economic growth or development in Manitoba. The gist of my presentation was that we have historically had an agricultural and rural policy that was very much linked. They were basically the same train going down the track. And as things have evolved in agriculture and farms have become bigger, that we are starting to see a more distinct path followed by agriculture in terms of economic issues and with rural development in terms of how rural Manitoba's economy must develop in addition or side by side with agriculture. The two are sometimes coming into conflict when it comes particularly to land use issues, and my feeling was, or my presentation looked at some of the issues in agriculture and the question of whether we really want to hitch rural Manitoba's economy to that wagon as we go into the future, because export agriculture in the context of those three big issues I think is coming into question. The ability of our farmers to perhaps compete globally against some of the new areas of production coming on, South America, the Ukraine, may affect our ability to have an economic agriculture on the export basis going forward. The latest numbers that were released by the Federal Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada's farm forecast would suggest that there's some merit to having that discussion. As it sits today, more than half of farm incomes come from off the farm, and a significant proportion of them come from program payments. So we have to think about that in terms of rising energy prices, because our production system is very heavily dependent on fossil fuels and non-renewable resources. So the cost of that production system is going to continue to rise. On the rural development front, there are some positive things happening in terms of economic growth in some communities. Some of them are related to small-scale manufacturing, mostly from homegrown industries, and I think that that's probably something we need to think about in terms of trying to continue that development. We're also seeing a growth in population in areas of the province that have made land available to people wanting to practice small-scale or, for lack of a better term, hobby agriculture, and to some extent that is a hot button, particularly as it comes into conflict with provincial land use policies in terms of how we allow subdivisions on land that's considered commercial farmland. From a perspective of energy prices, I think that it's natural to expect that energy prices are continue to rise. How does that affect our ability as rural communities to continue? I suspect that it does make the possibility of small town living in Manitoba even more attractive than it might have been before, especially if those communities are of a size that people can actually walk to work, they can get their groceries, and have most of their basic services met within a small local community. That may in fact be more sustainable in an era of high energy prices than large mega cities. The question of immigration, I think that if you look at Canada's immigration, Canada's population growth, we're not growing at a rate that's fast enough to maintain our population. We need to attract more people to Canada, and the question is how can we, in a rural economy, bring some of those people to our communities. Overall, I think the take-home message from me was that the template that we've used for developing a rural economy in the past is quite possibly not a template for agriculture and rural development in the future, and it's time that we started to rebalance that equation just a little bit. Thank you very much.